आदरणीय मनीष तिवारी जी.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson, sir.
No, he's smiling every time. He's smiling. Okay, okay. Please,
Chairman
please smile. You are in Parliament. Okay, sir.
I am always smiling, sir.
No.
That's all right.
Premchandran, he is telling.
No problem. Okay, Shri Mani Tiwari.
Mr. Chairperson, sir, I move the statutory resolution for disapproval of the ordinance which was promulgated to amend both the Central Vigilance Commission Act as well as the Delhi Police Special Establishment Act. I also rise to oppose both the bills which have been moved by the Honourable Minister in order to replace these two ordinances. The reason why I am opposing these two bills is primarily because these bills are arbitrary, they are capricious, and they are a colourable exercise of power. Mr. Chairperson, sir, I will demonstrate that not only will these bills, or when they are enacted into law, fall foul of the Supreme Court's judgment in the Jain Hawala case, but there are larger issues also with regard to the very legality of the Central Bureau of Investigation, as also the Delhi Police Special Establishment, which investigates or which has the anti-corruption remit. Mr. Chairperson, sir, any democracy is as strong or as weak as the institutions which support it. And I say this with great regret and a great sense of responsibility that unfortunately over the past 7.5 years, this government has made every attempt to dismantle the system of checks and balances which are intrinsic to our constitutional scheme. The bills which have been moved by the Minister on the floor of the House today are yet another milestone in that direction. The reason why I say that these bills fall foul of the Supreme Court's judgment in the Jain Hawala case is primarily, and I would like to read just 2 paragraphs from that judgment. In para 16 of the judgment, and this explains as to why the tenure of 2 years was fixed by the Supreme Court and why this entire intent to increase it year by year for 5 years is completely an arbitrary exercise of power. What did the Supreme Court say in the Jain Hawala case? It says, no doubt the overall control of the agencies and responsibility of their functioning has to be with the executive, but then a scheme giving the needed insulation from extraneous influences, even of the controlling executive, is imperative. So therefore, the entire intention of the Jain Hawala judgment was to insulate the Central Bureau of Investigation and the Enforcement Directorate from the influence of the controlling executive, which is the government. And these bills seek to do precisely the opposite. They seek to subordinate what the Supreme Court had contemplated to be independent organizations, autonomous organizations, as being completely and absolutely subservient to the government. Let me also read another paragraph from that judgment, para 48. In view of the common perception shared by everyone, including the Government of India and the Independent Review Committee, of the need for insulation of the CBI from extraneous influence of any kind, it is imperative that some action is urgently taken to prevent the continuance of the situation with a view to ensure proper implementation of the rule of law. There is a need of equality guaranteed in the Constitution. The right to equality in a situation like this is that of the Indian polity, and not merely a few individuals. The powers conferred on this court by the Constitution are ample to remedy this defect and to ensure enforcement of the concept of equality. And then the Supreme Court went on to give directions that the director of the CBI will have a fixed tenure of minimum of 2 years, and similarly, the director of the Enforcement Directorate will also have a fixed tenure of minimum of 2 years. Now the question, Mr. Chairperson, sir, is why 2 years? The reason why they specified a fixed tenure of 2 years was to ensure that the head of these two organizations are insulated from any kind of governmental interference. And moreover, they also ensured that the hierarchy of these organizations do not get disturbed, that people who are eminently qualified to hold these positions also get a chance to hold these positions by increasing the tenure from 2 to 5 years, and that also drip by drip, 1 year at a time. You are basically dangling a carrot before those officers. आप उनको ये कह रहे हैं कि हम जो करवाना चाहते हैं वो आप करते रहो और एक्सटेंशन लेते रहो। और ये जो धारणा है कि चाहे सीबीआई हो, चाहे इन्फोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट हो, चाहे आयकर विभाग हो, ये इस सरकार के अग्रिम संगठन है। वह विपक्ष को प्रताड़ित करने के लिए ये विधेयक जो आज इस सदन के समक्ष आए हैं उस धारणा को और मजबूत करते हैं अध्यक्ष जी, और ये बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण बात है। मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से ये निवेदन करना चाहूंगा कि इस धारणा को आप और सुदृढ़ मत बनाइए कि इन संगठनों का जो दुरुपयोग है उसके ऊपर आज अमली जामा पहनाया जा रहा है, और जो उच्चतम न्यायालय का मैंडेट था कि एक फिक्स टेन्योर 2 साल का होना चाहिए, उसको आप बरकरार रखिए। मैं इसके साथ साथ एक और बात भी कहना चाहता हूं चेयरपर्सन सर, कि देयर इज अ लार्जर इशू with regard to the very legality of the Central Bureau of Investigation. Because when this House sat as a constituent assembly, it never contemplated that there would be a central police force. Let me read out what Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, the founder of the Indian Constitution, the head of the drafting committee, had to say about a central police organization. He was replying in the Constituent Assembly to the apprehension expressed by a member with regard to the fact that whether the scheme of the Constitution contemplated a central police force. And this is what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said. The point of the matter is that the word investigation here, and he was talking about entry 8, list 1 of the Constitution of India, which talks about a Central Bureau of Intelligence and Investigation. And he says, the point of the matter is that the word investigation here does not permit and will not permit the making of an investigation into a crime, because that matter under the Criminal Procedure Code is left exclusively to a police officer. Police is exclusively a state subject. It has no place in the union list. The word investigation, therefore, is intended to cover general inquiry for the purposes of finding out what is going on. The investigation is not an investigation preparatory to filing of a charge sheet against an offender, which only a police officer under the Criminal Procedure Code can do. इसका तात्पर्य ये है कि जब भारत के संविधान की संरचना हुई, तो जो संविधान के निर्माता थे वो इस बात पे बिल्कुल स्पष्ट थे कि जिस संविधान की वो संरचना कर रहे हैं उसमें सेंट्रल ब्यूरो ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन या सेंट्रल पुलिस फोर्स का कोई वर्चस्व नहीं है, उसका का कोई रोल नहीं है. And so therefore, at some point in time, Mr. Minister, sir, even the vires of the National Investigating Agency will come into question, because the constitution makers never ever contemplated a central investigating agency.